Welcome back to the Pro Football Pod. We're bringing you the Week 11 fantasy recap. Make sure to check us out on Friday when we do a live show for the fans. We do a live show for you guys every week, answer your questions. So check us there on Friday. We are going to get it started with the Week 11 recap. Starting off with quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley. Honestly, the whole Jags offense, they've reawakened. Austin, you called it. What do you have to say about that?
It was his get right game. You know what I'm saying? Calvin Ridley, that boy was due for a pop off game. It's a weird stat, but anytime Zay Jones plays in the game, he pops off for like 20 points. And anytime he doesn't, he only gets like five or six.
And it's only been two games so far this year, so it's hard to like call it a trend. But now it's happened
Yeah.
three times, so I think
Can
that
we just
it's
stay healthy, Zay? Come on,
they need you
stay out
straight
there.
up. Seriously though, without Zay Jones, even Trevor Lawrence. I mean, Trevor Lawrence with two rushing touchdowns obviously makes a big difference, but five rushes. The previous 2 weeks, he only had three rushes combined. So coming off the bye week, I know that he had that little bit of a lower body injury. He obviously has overcome that, and San Fran kind of made him look like fools, but Tennessee didn't have a chance. They got Houston this coming week. What do you guys think about Trevor going forward? Are you guys trusting Calvin? He's an every week starter. I know you just traded for him, Austin. So what are you thinking?
Yeah, I have to trust him now moving forward with the injury with Burrow and everything. And, all the injuries across the league, it's rough. So I got to force him out there.
Now, did you start him this past week?
I sure did. And
Yes,
it
sir.
almost paid off. I
Almost.
ended up losing. So
Hey, that's life, though. Not everyone always
yeah,
wins everything. What about you, Justin?
any any given Sunday.
What are you thinking about Jags moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, you just hope that they can keep it up and it's not just a flash in the pan. The Titans are one of the bottom teams in the league as far as pass defense, like DVOA, all of those, inside metrics. They're right there at the bottom in almost every category. They just funnel passes to wide receivers, and generally, number one wide receivers have eaten against the Titans all season long. So this was the get right game for Ridley. This game to me, honestly, I would have been a lot more concerned if Ridley didn't show out in this game.
Oh
Like
yeah,
Kirk coming back down to earth a little bit with 3 receptions for 48 yards. That's whatever. Doesn't concern me. You're still starting him moving forward. But this does give you some positive outlook on Ridley going forward to be like, okay, they know that, they've kind of got to get him involved and Trevor's going to have to use his legs a little more because they're realizing, especially with the Houston, that's a huge game. You're essentially playing for, positioning in your own division.
That's
especially
my
now.
game of the week. I'm so excited for it. Like I was
There's
looking at all the
so many
matchups.
divisional matchups this
Yes,
week.
this is
It's
the week, dude.
insane.
Oh, Bengals are gonna get a chance to. I think it's the Steelers that they play. So Steelers get two in a row. It's either the Browns or the Steelers, something like that. But we'll talk about that later in the week. Justin Fields. All right, so Justin Fields' first game back, 169 yards passing with a touchdown, 18 rushes, 104 yards. Should they have just been using him as a running back the whole time while his finger was fucked up? I'm just hot
That's not a
take.
bad call.
Hot
I
take.
mean, if he wasn't your franchise quarterback,
True.
yeah, probably. Like if
Deontay
he was
But
Foreman's
just
you
looked
like a
pretty good a
also
couple
backup.
you have
times.
the first overall pick though, so like you're working with house
But
money over here.
also it does throw in the element of the threat of passing that opens up his running.
That's
And
absolutely
then
true.
the designed runs that they were doing for him, they were well designed. So the times that they were running him, things like that for me, it was a great game for him as far as the game to come back from after injury. Cause for me it's just like a stepping stone moving forward. So it was a great game for him and fantasy owners. If you held on to him, especially in redraft leagues, if you just had him on the IR all season long, this could be the thing that help propel you into the playoffs as well.
I mean, 23 points in a 4 point quarterback league is phenomenal. And the fact that you're getting 18 rushes out of the guy, that's more than he's had all year. That's 2 of his games combined easily. So I think that what you're seeing is they've lost a lot of games, but they're still trying to win some. I mean, it was against a divisional opponent. They've got another divisional opponent this week with Minnesota. Then they get a bye week, and then they get Detroit again, which we just saw what he was able to do versus them. He gets Cleveland in the semifinals, or I'm sorry, in week 15, first round of the playoffs, and then Arizona. So decent matchups, but I don't know. Justin Fields is a special player. He runs it. He's a running back. 18 for a 104 is just so nice.
It's efficient, is what it is.
Uh, Tank Dell, you want to talk about efficiency? The only person that was more efficient than him really was Tyreek Hill this week, and Tyreek Hill did it with only one hand. So, props to him. I think that Tank Dell moving forward is everyone's been talking about Nico Collins. Every time you bring up any of these receivers, oh well, Nico Collins is really the number one, and he is the number one talent in size, speed, athleticism, the full complement. But if Tank Dell can continue to put up Tyreek Hill type numbers, he already has that speed. We know that, and he's also put up this type of production in college, where a lot of these first round guys were in big systems with a bunch of guys around him, and they didn't have the big time production that Tank Dell did. So I'm impressed with him so far and very excited to see what he can do in the next 4 or 5 weeks.
It's kind of rotated on who we've thought is the best rookie receiver. Do you guys think that he is the best coming out of the class right now?
I was
I
wishing today that I had traded for him earlier whenever he had his concussion, because I knew that he was an awesome player. I just didn't expect, I just knew that there were so many mouths to feed over there. I was afraid of that, and he's proven me wrong.
It's a hard offense or team to buy into whenever there were so many question marks in the air.
Yeah.
What's their identity?
The Houston Strouds.
Straight up.
Essentially. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to go as far right now to say, he's the best one in the class, because what Addison was showing with Jefferson, but mostly with Kirk, then I'm still not ready to give that to Tank Dell just yet. So
I think it's
for
like a
me,
1A, 1B.
it's more of right now of opportunity, especially with Dobbs coming in. I think Dell's just getting more opportunity than any other rookie receiver is right now. But he is balling, not to take anything away. It's awesome what him and Stroud are doing out there as a rookie connection. So I mean, you absolutely ride the wave going forward, and I think he's overtaken Nico Collins as the number one option there.
Well, I hate when people bring that up because Nico Collins is coming off injury. It's not a big injury, but it is an injury. So he's not going to just get force fed the ball. He got 15 points on the day. It was
And
a
they
solid
are
day for Nico
sharing
Collins.
targets.
So
it really isn't. It's kind of a 1A 1B situation, which the Dolphins, that's what you expected it to be this year, and
let me
it hasn't been.
rephrase that a little bit. When a big play is seen getting made, normally it's Tank Dell.
Yeah. No, I feel
True,
that.
very true, and that's what where his value is. I think that
Nico Collins is kind of assumed the Keenan Allen
that
type
brings
role.
me into
Where-
another receiver, Josh Downs, that is another rookie that I don't want people to really forget about. He might have been hurt the last couple weeks,
the bye week.
but he's going to get an opportunity to pop at the end of the season. If he stays healthy the rest of this year out, I think with him and Minshew and the schedule that they have, he could end up surprising a lot of people and being in that conversation for one of the best, if not the best receivers. That speed that he has, the ability to get into space, Minshew was giving him the ball pretty frequently until he got a little bit banged up, and now he's had time to get healthy. And then Jackson Smith, too. He's got DK finally turning up. I think that with him getting an opening to get open and get work, that we might see more from him as well.
It's Geno that's been the problem for him.
which Gino.
Gino wants to feed the ball, him the ball. He's literally said to his face, "I'm trying to get you the ball."
Yeah, don't
So
worry.
if you
It's
can't
not
get
your
him the
fault.
ball,
It's mine.
you know, can't fix stupid.
Well, now
Uh,
Gino's hurt.
Yeah,
Now,
that's interesting.
I
He might
think.
play, he might not.
I think. Yeah, Gino's injury is interesting. I want to see more about that. Do we know what it is? Like what body part? Or I know
Elbow.
it's an ooh,
It, it was
throwing
an
elbow.
Throwing arm.
Now he came back in and was through a few times after injuring the elbow, but that's also adrenaline. Probably
Yeah.
took some numbing agents. So going through the week, I believe it's already been said that Drew Lock is practicing as the starter right now for this next week. So
Not
you
good
wonder
for
what it
Seattle.
is as far as Gino moving forward. Kenneth Walker.
I don't worry
Also-
too much about that because of Pete Carroll and the way that we didn't think anything of Geno Smith until like he came in. So I'm not like
Do you know who
too
the
worried.
Seattle Seahawks are playing this week?
Not
The
yet.
49ers.
Maybe I'm worried.
Yeah.
So it might change your opinion on what you're saying.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Maybe don't start any Seahawk players.
I mean, except for Charbonnet, right?
Don't start Charbonnet.
Yeah, I think that's a good call too. We'll talk about that probably.
Yeah, that's the Thanksgiving night game. It's
Uh,
gonna be a bloodbath.
Now going back to the recap from
They're
last
gonna eat.
week, Jalen Warren. Wow. Do we have a new Austin Eckler? That's my question to you guys.
He
Austin
looks
Eckler,
just like him, and he's the same number.
and it's just he only touched the ball 9 times, and he had
all he
129
needs.
yards rushing for a touchdown.
On the Browns.
Yes.
On the Browns D.
Now
That was what
one
was
of them was a
impressive.
74-yard touchdown, but a 74-yard touchdown against the Browns with Myles Garrett and all these other guys coming at you, like it is impressive. They get Cincinnati this week, they get Arizona, they get Indy, they get Cincinnati again, they get New England. Like they get
We've
some.
been seeing him do it since last year, though. Like he's been creeping up and doing his thing over Najee.
Do you guys think that he's a better player than Najee, or that Najee legitimately getting the workload and then allowing him to come in as the Tony Pollard to Zeke over the last couple of years is why he's able to get the value?
Najee has never been fast. I've never seen him be a fast running back. So like, Warren's just got more explosiveness and more speed. So it's more exciting when he's out of the backfield.
I think
Najee's just not exciting to me.
Najee's Derrick Henry fast is like the way to put it. He's like a train
He
that can
hurdles
build
people
up.
and stuff.
Najee's fast enough, but I do agree. Like Warren is more explosive with the ball in his hand. He does show a little more shiftiness to him, whereas Najee's more of that one cut back, lower the shoulder, get you about 7 to 8, but he's not really popping off any kind of big runs there.
I
I
like
don't
him
know if
on
I'm
the
going
goal
as
line.
far to say that Warren's the next Eckler, because I just right now, especially with Najee there, I don't know if he'll ever get the same kind of workload. But
He's
he is
already about
electric.
to start. It's
Remember-
kind of like what was happening
and
with Melvin
with-
Gordon and Eckler.
Remember,
way
Eckler
the
started
passing-
behind Melvin.
With the way the passing game though is struggling, that does make me more hopeful for his usage going forward, because Tomlin's just going to continue to lean on both of those running backs. So I think they both have
likes to feed
flex
the hot hand.
consideration in every game going forward.
Nice. Which brings me to another running back, Joe Mixon. Every week starter from week 1 until week now. You haven't even questioned it. Matchup proof. You put him in no
Wait.
matter what. That's what Joe Mixon's been.
but-
But now Joe Burrow is out, and Joe Mixon's the only guy. Now he gets Pittsburgh this week. They're 11th against the run. Jacksonville 16th. Indy 5th. Minnesota, and then Pittsburgh again. What are you guys thinking? Are you guys thinking Joe Mixon's just going to get so many more carries? Instead of 16, he's going to get 25 carries, and you just start him no matter what? Or that he's not going to have anything?
Depending on your roster, and maybe you drafted like an Kamara or a Jonathan Taylor, and like I would switch or pivot to one of those guys, but you're going to have to play him if you don't, just because the volume he's going to receive and how good of a running back he is.
Jamar Chase
Yeah.
still exists and plays football.
I think you're hoping that you have somebody worthy of being able to put in your running back 2 spot, but you at least, like Austin said, I think you at least have to put him, in the lineup flex at minimum. And my thought on that is just because history has shown when the starting quarterback goes down and they result down to a backup, and especially a backup that's not very mobile like Jake Browning is, they're going to lean on the run game, which is also going to lead to the short passing game. So that's just check down city for Mixon as well. So I still think he's perfectly fine going forward.
He should be, and they're still pushing for the playoffs. It's not like they're just gonna give up and roll over now.
Agreed. They do
Yeah.
have a one loss too many to be like, oh, we can make it. But if they win out and a couple teams lose a couple of big games, if they win
I
big
mean, you
games,
see how many injuries there are across the league. Anybody
Yeah,
exactly.
the
can.
AFC's close enough to where, they're not mathematically out of it by any means.
What's unfortunate is that even if they were to lose out, they're still going to end up with like a 12 to 15 or 18th pick because of just how many games they've already won and how competitive some of these teams are. There's about to be a lot of losses if you look at some of these schedules upcoming.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking about upcoming schedules, Trey McBride gets the LA Rams this week. He had Houston last week, and if you look at what he did fantasy wise at just his points 9.3. 9.3 is great for a tight end. It's not playing against the fifth worst defense against tight ends. You thought that you were going to get 15 or 20 out of him again, but you still got 7 targets. I think Trey McBride getting that many targets, even with the other guy getting the touchdown, like you absolutely start him every week throughout the rest of the season. Even whenever they play San Fran in week 28, I think that Kyler's going to have to rely on this guy to be able to get plays done, and he isn't throwing to Marquise Brown. Like, I don't understand what is going on.
He is, but I mean, Marquise didn't come down with a couple. He didn't target him as much as he should be.
Like,
He
Dobbs
only
was
had 2
feeding
receptions.
Brown. And that's what makes me excited about JJ coming back is I think that JJ's going to get fed by Dobbs in the same way that he was feeding Brown. That's the number one guy. Hawkinson's been getting the juice ever since Dobbs has been there because
It would be nice to see him feeding Addison in that way, though.
I know, but he can only do one at a time. He only knows the playbook to know one guy's routes well enough to like time it with him, and he's gonna get there. Don't worry. You're looking at potential franchise quarterback. Do we realize that he's young enough for them to move on from Kirk if he wins a couple of more big games and keeps him in it and just shows that he's got that dog mentality? Like
I'd say good bridge quarterback.
he's rushed for a touchdown in the last like 5 or 6 games. I wanted to talk about him bad this week, but we've talked about him too much, so we can move on. What do you guys think about Trey though?
With
He's
how
exciting.
thin the tight end position is, I do
Uh,
you
take
got
that
to start
back.
him every week.
You take that back. Tight
He-
end's been great this year.
He's making me glitch
Plentiful.
right now. Like he's just the game that he just put up, like, and what he's done the last few weeks. I mean, you've got to start him at this point just with his target share, but also, I mean, yes, the tight end position has been better this year, but I also think it's a matter of the top guys have regressed more to the mean, and
Exactly.
everybody else is more solid versus here's elite guys, here's a couple solid guys, and then here's trash cans, to where now everybody for the most part is, I feel good about it. Like, what are you gonna do?
I think the biggest issue with tight end going into the season is that Darren Waller, Evan Ingram, Dallas Goddard, all these guys, and probably a couple others, were all considered to be, they're about to take the step into elite. They're about to join Mark Andrews and Travis Kelsey among the guys that are worth top five round picks, and they weren't. Not at all. Most of those guys totally regressed. Evan Ingram is probably the only one that's been solid across the board, but he hasn't had any big weeks to win you anything, and that's what you get in the 5th round from a receiver. You could have gotten Calvin Ridley or someone else of that caliber in that round. Lots of running backs were going then too.
Sam Laporta is kind of taking a down spell.
He's had some rough weeks. That's for sure. I'm gonna have to rely on him because Mark Andrews just got hurt, and that's the way we go. He gets Green Bay this week, which is going to be a tough matchup for him. But then he has 3 top 10 matchups in a row, getting easier and easier. Minnesota is a divisional matchup.
See, what you said about the Green Bay being a tough matchup, I think that'll be a good matchup for him because of the Green Bay secondary taking away Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like
They're 23rd against tight ends, which is 9th best against tight ends.
I don't always like to go based off that though. Like it's just
I'm just
those
saying,
sample
like,
sizes. Like
you're right. But what I'm saying
this
is that
football. We're going out here to play.
they're only really stopping tight ends and like wide receivers. Their running game, like they let up
it's
so much to
atrocious.
running backs.
So the Lions are just gonna feast.
And that's what I'm saying is that I think that Laporta will probably get a touchdown if they get into the red zone enough times. But that's really maybe they feed him a couple passes. He does generally get open. He plays more receiver like role. I don't know how much to expect from him though. Well, I think that's another one.
Put up in his last game.
5
last
targets.
game
Oh wait,
5,
sorry.
5 targets, 4 receptions, 56 yards. So 9 points in a full PPR game.
Which is solid for a tight end.
Solid.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And show up on Friday for Friday for the Fans. Peace.
Deuces.